Welcome everybody back to Just Plain Crazy. It's Brendan. Thanks for joining me for another episode. This is part 3 in the painting portion of the EMHW 47% Pit Special. Let's get to it. Alright, so I was really debating not painting any of this multi-tone or this multi-tone. I was actually going to bring this swoop down and kind of underneath and over. Although I think the color, I could tell you already, the color is going to be different here versus here, just because it's a different surface. So it's going to have a different hue and it's going to be off. You have to be okay with that, I guess. But when I laid it out, I like the width of this silver, because the purple's all going to be up here. This will be silver. This black will all come through here, and then all of the registration numbers on the back of the tail. But this thing is laid out well this way, and I like how this comes into the cowl. I was trying to not paint the whole cowl and then have to mask and do that. But anyway, we strung it out. So I know I have the pattern I like, and I know that all my points are the same on both sides. So you could see I laid that one out there. And I also laid this one out here. And again, we're coming over the cowl. We're coming above the aerobatic windows and then out into the nose. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough mark my points where I want everything. And then I'm going to then tape this off, so that way we're ready to start painting, and then we could paint this individually, paint that individually, paint our stripes, make sure everything matches up. So yeah, and in very, very short order, we're gonna have a painted pits. Let's get to it. All right, so we have our fine line tape laid out, and I use the baby powder underneath just to prevent leaving paint marks. That works most of the time, not all the time. On the foam stuff, it works fantastic all the time. Here, sometimes I have to do some back taping and repainting, but otherwise that helps a lot. So the secret to get nice straight lines is to keep it taut, pull end to end, and then lay it in. Trying not to push it this way as you tack it down, and then you can look right down the thing and see if your lines are straight. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. We're gonna go ahead and pull off our cockpit. We're gonna mask in this area in here. We'll paint all of that when we're done, but otherwise we're gonna get ready to start laying in all of our purple, if you will, or pink purple. So here we go. All right, we're getting ready to outline the center striping up through the silver, and that line comes right off of even with the horizontal. So there is our horizontal that's on there, and I just tape line so that way I know that that's nice and straight. I did the same on the other side, and that will keep that color right along the top edge there. And we're going to mask that off and get ready to paint that. Now what we're gonna do is paint that whole thing in the purple. All right, the pinkish purple. Raspberry mousse is the technical name. We're gonna paint that whole thing, let it dry, mask off the pinstripes, then mask off the center section to paint the black through the center. So always darkest colors closer, right? So we're gonna mask off purple, then we're gonna pinstripe it, then we're gonna paint the inner triangle black. And that should give us our purple, silver, all right? Purple, black, purple, silver, purple. And then all of our registration numbers will go down the tail. So it is coming together, my friends. This thing's getting close, and I do mean close, and it looks stellar, and it don't even have clear coat on it yet. But let's talk about some things, right? So I'm hoping as I pan this over, this turns out in the video. So this isn't even cleared yet, but you can look at the shimmer in the flake. I mean, this thing looks great. So I have to carry, now that the black stripes are done, we got to carry this stripe over onto the rudder, which is easy. I waited to do that as a separate piece. These things are already done. They'll still need to be hinged and cleaned up in there, so that's there. We have to paint the cowling, which we're going to get started on next, and then I have to get this thing put into place, pushed back down, hinged, and I'm going to redo my tape lines just to make sure that everything is good there. But got to sand it all down. We have to prime it, sand it, and then get it ready for a base coat, which will probably just be silver all the way across, because it'll be easier to mask off for just then to do the purple. So that's there. And one of the last things that I have not done yet is we have to put in control horns for here. And I haven't done that because I want the whole model done. I want it to flip over. I want the arms to come out. And once everything is bolted into its last position here, I want to make sure that all the horns are in the right angle with there. So a little bit, they're notched, but I gave myself a little bit of wiggle room. So, and one of the other things, now this again, flying wires are what keeps these in place. You remember back in the build process, I put holes in the bottom of those main supports to lock these in so that way they don't go anywhere. But from tightening the covering, this stuff did pull the wood. Either it pulled the fuse in or it pulled this out. When these press together, they'll be a little bit tighter, but I do have a slight gap in there. It is not perfect. But I think I'm just going to put a piece of craft foam on the inside, and that'll seal off any air from coming through there. And realistically, from 2 feet away, you never notice it anyway. But just some of the things we learned in the build process. And one of the things that I'm struggling with the most right now, I chose to do a hinged canopy instead of a sliding canopy because I think all those brackets and stuff on here, they didn't look great. I'm still torn at what to do with all of this, because this piece is going to get screwed in here. I'm thinking this piece right now, instead of being curved, I'm going to cut this straight over. And I'm going to be screwing it to the fiberglass underneath, but I'm thinking then just wrapping HVAC tape from here down and around so it looks like a piece of steel going through there. This will be painted so it won't stick out like a sore thumb. This stuff, I don't know, I'd really love to have the canopy trimmed right to here and have this come down and just sit right past the guy's head on this stuff, but I need to put Captain Puppet on the inside and make sure his head will still clear if that's the case, but also to make sure that this canopy glass will come down and touch that, because right now, like the way I cut this, that's the only part that's going to do it right there. So I don't know. We still have some figuring out to do. I got my windows worked out on how I'm going to seat and do those. So I'm looking forward to getting those propped and put into place. Can't do that until after it's cleared. But guys, this looks phenomenal. I can't wait. Let's get this nose painted. All right, now it's time to get our canopy ready. We're gonna tape that seating area off. We're gonna sand this down and get it ready for primer. All those little nubs from all my bolt holes, and rough up my hinges and everything else, my latches. Yeah, so we're gonna do that. And this collar, sand them down, rough them up, smooth them out, prime it, sand that down, and then these things will be ready for paint. All right, so we have our raspberry mousse done here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take our J tape. This is 9mm J tape, and I'm just going to mask right over here, right over there, right along the edge of that purple, because we're going to paint on the inside. So you can almost get away with a dirty outside edge if you're not perfect with it. All we're doing is looking for spacing to paint this black stuff, and I like to try and keep my seams on the back side, so if I have any lines or anything, they're back there and really nobody notices. But if you want to make this easy, if we did it right during setup, is we just kind of get get this one edge started, and then we kind of just pull it slightly taut so we match over on the other side, so that way you get a pretty nice clean line. So kind of gets activated as you press it in like that. We make sure we rub in our ribs anywhere where there's deformities underneath, and we're going to do that all the way around. When you want to cut the tape, the easiest thing to do, don't stretch it, pull it, cut it, is just lay pressure over your edge and then twist like that. Nice clean lines. Once you have your J tape on there, just give your edges a press. Anything around the seams or ribs, press that stuff in. I always take a look down, make sure that I'm nice and straight. I'm happy with all that. Especially here around the simulated rib stitches, make sure you give all that stuff a good push in there. We don't want any bleed through of black, especially if you can avoid it. And that's a nice thing about the J tape. It works really well for nice clean lines. I take my plastic, I roll a clean edge. Probably fight here with the wind. Lay it just at the edge of, especially the thick J tape is nice. It's easy to work with. And this stuff is just simply yellow sensitive frog tape. And it works really well. This gives you really clean lines also. Give that a press down. You can actually wrap this stuff right around. And that actually helps if you do that. If you wrap it around and do it to the other side, it actually really helps to hold the tape in place to prevent rounded tape edges from coming loose. All right, we're all set. Let's get this thing shot. Now, when I shoot it with black, I do it lightly first and let it dry. Like, just, you'll see it change the hue, so just hit it lightly with that stuff. And if you're using Rust-Oleum cans, especially black, spray it from like really far away. Like, don't get super close with the stuff. Otherwise, it'll give you problems. It'll be too thick, it'll run, it'll leak, it'll bleed, everything else. So just a couple light coats with the black. Let's do it. Try not to spray the dog. Again, from pretty far away, light coat. So one more time, we'll just check around all of my rib stitches, around the ends. Light coats. And this is really like good distance. Just enough to start getting some other paint on it, make it tacky. The big problem when people go to paint stuff, they want to get all the paint all in one coat. This stuff will dry in 2 minutes and I could shoot it again. We'll do probably 3 coats. All right, time to add in our silver as part of this stripe. Again, we don't have to get it all at once. Just get a nice coat. Okay, give that a couple minutes. All right, now we're gonna add in our Cosmic Black, our flake, again from distance. Usually get about 3 good passes. That way we kind of keep the flake even. Okay, now that stuff's off. So here's the secret with getting the J tape off. Find an edge that I can work with here. So pull this off at a 45. And that seems to help cut the paint off as you're removing it. So again, at a 45 from the work, try not to touch your paint. There you go. See how nice and clean that looks? Again, do it now or do it in an hour. Don't do it in between, because if you go to pull it and the paint is at all gooey, it's just gonna mess up your whole paint job. So from there, I'll take it again, pull it close, pull it at a 45. I keep a little pressure on it. There you go. Beautiful. All right, before we shoot these with the first base coat color, which will be Galactic Silver, the primer's dried. So I'm just gonna go through. Just all right, we got our base color painted, which is the Galactic Silver. We just did everything silver. It makes the lines look cleaner. So what I'll do now is we're gonna use our 9mm J tape or orange, and we're gonna cut it on the inside of those lines and on the inside of the black, and then we'll mask off that on each side, and then everything will get painted purple, and then that will leave this to pull off, and then we'll have to just paint on the black. So let's get that going. All right, while the canopy is drying, we're going to go ahead and mask off the remainder of our purple stripe in here, which will give it the look of the silver wrapping around. On the inside, all I did was hot glue a dowel rod and then wrapped a wire around it so I can hang this thing to dry. So we just twist that to get that thing out. We're going to make sure that we mount it up and I align those purple stripe in here, mask it off, shoot it purple. This will be pretty quick. All right, what we did to get that is about as centered with the back as we can get it, is we just ran a stretch line right on the outside of the purple, get it tacked down to here, and then pull it taut all the way down to the other end, and just watch in here. When that lines up, you know you're at the right spot up here. So that's all we're gonna do now. We're gonna cut this, remove that off. This is the area. We're gonna leave that open. We're gonna mask off everything around it, and we're gonna paint that purple. That should be it. All right, so cowling's painted, pieces are dried. We're going to attach the canopy glass to here using 2mm hardware. Then we're going to heat the inside to help it form to this piece. Then we're going to get that bolted onto there. Because I am doing the whole tilt cockpit, I just decided to trim the bottom edge with HVAC tape. So I like the look of that. I think that'll work out just fine. Let's get to assembling. All right, guys, now we're going to get to painting and cutting the spinner. And I've been really nervous about doing this, so I've saved it for last. Maybe because you get like one shot and then that's going to be it. And then I got to go find something else. So we're going to start just like we did with all this scuff, prime, base paint. We're going to do silver because the bottom of this is a checkered silver and black. And then the top is the raspberry mousse. So anyway, we're going to time lapse it. We're going to sand it, mask it off. And I think just because of the way it's obviously shaped like a cone, the tape doesn't lay great. We're going to go with the 9mm J tape and we're going to make some pretty wide but pretty long but pretty narrow checkers at the bottom of this thing. Obviously they'll be 9 mil, but let's get to sanding and priming. All right, so primered, sanded. Let's get our base silver on there. All right, as far as the spinner goes, 9mm J tape. Basically just, I'm getting 2 rows. The only thing I really care about is this top edge right there. All right, the rest of it is just kind of rough spacing. So I'm good with all of this. Now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna chase it with this going around, just to make sure that I don't have anything leak, because I can have it be messy in between. I just don't want it to leak in between that J tape for now. And then the top gets painted raspberry mousse. All right, so now that the project's over and you want to, if you're curious how many cans it took to paint a plane of this size, this is the Raspberry Mousse. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 cans of Raspberry Mousse, and I have half a can left over. 2 cans of Krylon Black, 2 cans of automotive primer, 6 cans of Berry Jam Metal Flake, the Galactic Silver, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 cans of that. 2 cans all the way down on the end of the Cosmic Black Metal Flake, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 cans of Clear Coat. So if you want, you figure out the math, but that's what it takes to paint plane this size. So in case you want to ask why use all the rattle cans, why didn't I just buy it by the gallon, quart, the pint, whatever it is, it all came down to timing. When do I have time to paint stuff? And as you saw in all the videos, a little bit of time in the morning, a little bit of time in the evening, most ideal times to paint. Temperature's down, humidity's down, so I don't have time before work or after work to clean up, and that was the biggest thing. So convenience, that's what it comes down to. All right, guys, and that is a wrap on the building painting process on the Pit Special. That is the last one. There's only one video left, as I said. That is how we make Mylar servo lead tubes. That is how we did the instrument panel. That is how we did the aerobatic windows. That will be the last part of this series. But I hope this series helped you. I hope it enticed you to want to build your own model, to put on your own scheme, and to have something super cool at the field that nobody else does. The building process definitely gives us a finer appreciation for those ARF models. But again, it's Brendan here at Just Plain Crazy. You guys are just plain crazy for always hanging out and watching. Smash that bad boy, it helps us out a lot. If you didn't and you're going to do this thing, definitely hit that bad boy twice for me. As you like, share, subscribe all of our content, it helps the channel grow immensely, and I appreciate that. So don't forget to check us out on the official Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok Just Plain Crazy pages. Like, comment to those as well as often as you want. I try and get back to every one of those. So guys, that's a wrap. One left. Gonna get out of here. I wish you guys happy flights. Peace out.